Hey, what's up guys, Ref here. Now there's one thing I'll never tolerate on this channel, and that is VTubers trying to normalize hatred of men. This is something we covered about 2 weeks ago. It was an unfortunate situation where during Men's Health Awareness Week that took place in June, a group of VTubers decided to take that opportunity to make sweeping generalizations about their male peers and men generally by trying to paint them as predators by nature of their gender. Now, unfortunately today, we are repeating this situation with this VTuber named Misa, who missed the opportunity to label herself as Misandere with a simple addition of a letter N in her name, but nonetheless. So this thread caused a lot of controversy, and it was the beginning of today's topic. So in this thread, she has some screenshots between her and what I would guess I would call her former lover. It was a male VTuber she was having e-sex with. Now, the problem with that is that this male VTuber hid the fact that he had a girlfriend at the time this all occurred. And here's the thing. He's a cheater. He sucks. All cheaters suck. But the thing is, it's not just men who cheat, women cheat as well. And unfortunately, this VTuber used this negative experience with this male VTuber to generalize all male VTubers as bad, with this thread, of course, labeled, "This is what we mean when we say male VTubers ain't shit." And of course, the thread would be later deleted, but nonetheless, a very sweeping generalization based on this one bad experience with a VTuber. Now, this is the replies to that main thread, and it provides some more context, I guess. It says, "Just when you thought you found a cool dude who isn't a predator, groomer, abuser, or misogynist, turns out to have been cheating on his girlfriend for the past several months. In before the incels find this. Disclaimer, it's not all male VTubers, blah, 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 blah. Now shut the F up. I know some amazing dudes in this space, but finding them feels like finding a needle in a haystack. Rare. You need to know where to look, and you need to stay a strong intuition to filter them out." Yes, I'm not generalizing, but I'm saying that it's rare to find a good man in the VTubing space, and that finding a good one is like a needle in a haystack. But nonetheless, a lot of people would call out these generalizations, including this VTuber saying, "It sucks that you had that interaction with one male VTuber, but I wouldn't lump all male VTubers together. Again, I'm sorry that one VTuber lied to you. That is not cool under any circumstances." Where Misa would reply saying, "Oh, bestie, you think this is the first and only time? You're so cute." First of all, ick. Imagine talking to people with that like passive-aggressive tone, but nonetheless. The VTuber would reply saying, "Regardless if this was a one-time thing or not, don't lump them all together. They all are not like the male VTubers you have encountered." Where Misa would reply saying, "Crazy how I never said that anywhere in my post and even said the opposite. I guess reading is hard." Now, this is a common theme. She's going to deny everything and then claim that people have bad reading comprehension. But let's go back to the main thread. This is a generalization. You didn't specify that this one male VTuber was bad. You said all male VTubers are bad. But there's plenty of other replies that confirm what people are saying. So right here, this user quote retweeted their original thread before it was deleted, saying, "I'm begging some of you to just start shading the people you are mad at instead of generalizing everyone that don't even know you. Like, you know damn well this is going to leave your target audience. Either keep it up in your group chat with your buddies or just shade that person directly." And they replied by saying, "No, it's funny." Yes, it's funny to make generalizations of all male VTubers based on your experience with one bad one. And let's go back to this whole thing about shading this person. They censored their name and in other tweets said that they wouldn't reveal their identity. This just shows to me the level of seriousness here. This isn't about outing some dangerous bad guy to prevent others from being hurt. This is about airing out your dirty laundry for attention on social media. But nonetheless, here's another situation where a person replied to the thread saying, "Not all men, but somehow always a man for real." Where Misa would reply saying, "Exactly." So you're saying not all men, but it's always men, and you agree to that statement? Imagine me replacing not all women, but somehow always a woman when talking about something disparaging a woman. Like, you would call me a misogynist. So how is this not misandry and generalizations? But moving on, here's another one to the deleted thread. This user said, "You mean some male VTubers," where they replied, "I mean too many male VTubers." Again, on this channel, I talked about this in my previous video. I have covered dozens of female VTubers engaging in bullying and other predatory behavior. You know, from your simple mean girl type behavior to full-fledged pedophilia, okay? And here's the thing, I've covered a lot more women than men, but that doesn't make me or allow me to make a sweeping generalization about women, because I understand that they're the small minority of female VTubers, and the only reason there's so much more female VTubers being covered than male VTubers in these predatory cases is because of the simple fact there's just more female VTubers than there are male VTubers as a whole. But nonetheless, right here, another person calls it out saying, "I have a suggestion. Why don't you take your sexism somewhere else, huh? Maybe people would like you more then," where Misa replied, "Or maybe you can F off my page instead of whining. This is Twitter. I don't give a F about incels not liking me." And this is something they'll do. Just call everyone who disagrees with them an incel. And the user would reply saying, "Wasn't me who deleted my tweet. Did you know that deleting a tweet means you admit of guilt? It's not the incels, it's you who is in the wrong here." Where Misa would reply saying, "No, hop off my dick and catch this block." Something they will say to a lot of other people criticizing them as well. But this is the great moment. We had our champion step in here, a VTuber named Rosie Bell, who would go head to head with Misa. So they would reply to the now deleted original thread saying, "I am sorry this happened, but I've seen both girls and guys be not great in this space. I know you said this isn't all male VTubers, but it's sort of framed that way, especially when you say finding a nice guy here is like a needle in a haystack," where of course Misa would reply with, "I didn't stutter," which not only confirms the fact that they're making a generalization, but it's also just like the irony's not lost on me where they say, "I didn't stutter" over a deleted tweet. Like, come on. But Rosie would also make a quote retweet of that original thread saying, "Can we stop doing this?" And then saying it's not hatred towards male VTubers, while clearly using a one-time bad experience with one for hating an entire gender. And in the comments saying finding good male VTubers in the space is like finding a needle in the haystack. Holy. Where Rose would go on to say, "I hate drama so much, but I also hate bullying. And it's the only time I tend to say something. If you disagree, you're an incel, and male VTubers are casually called abusers, groomers, and predators. Just hearing serious allegations used casually like this, it's just so unhinged." Where, of course, Misa would quote retweet that last thread saying, "Your reading comprehension is so insanely low, it's almost impressive. Also, I hate drama so much, my ass." Well, number one, from everything I've seen in regards to people who know Rosie, it seems like she never gets involved in drama, and they were surprised to see her get involved in this, and it showed that clearly she felt very strongly about this thread. So, also on top of that, this whole thing about reading comprehension, you'll see it over and over again. Every person who criticizes her threads rightfully will be called someone with bad reading comprehension. And this whole thing about drama, I went through this Misa person's account. It's all drama. So, like, please, that'd be like me saying, like, I don't get involved in drama. Please, like, just be self-aware about the fact that you clearly get involved in drama all the time, which is the whole point of that original thread, by the way. But as I already stated several times, they would delete that original thread, and they would say this in response saying, "Deleted the post, was getting way outside my normal audience." What do you mean, your echo chamber? And one user would reply saying, "This translates to people who don't agree with sexism found my post," where Misa would reply saying, "People who can't read and lack brain cells found my post again." Yes, because pointing out blatant sexism is a lack of reading comprehension and brain cells. But nonetheless, Rosie would make another tweet compiling all of those recent ones and saying they deleted the post because it left their audience. Now it's just insulting me for now. Thanks for everyone who understands that while I don't like drama, I'm not spineless, and I will speak up when I think it's better to do so than to be silent. Where Misa would, with all the audacity in the world, quote retweet that saying, "Girl, hop off my dick and find someone else to ride for clout. You're embarrassing yourself." And then down here saying, "So brave of them for speaking up for cheaters and men who abuse their platform to be sneaky and do heinous things." So before we look at that top part, that bottom quote right there, a blatant mischaracterization of what Rosie was saying. She clearly stated that that person that cheated on his girlfriend with Misa was a bad person and a bad apple, a bad male VTuber. But she also said, don't use that as an opportunity to generalize against male VTubers generally. And of course, they frame it in a completely different way and twist their words to own them. Clearly showing that Misa has no valid argument. You have no valid argument, you have to start making up things that other people said. But nonetheless, this part up here just really drove me crazy, dude. Girl, hop off my dick and find someone else to ride for clout. Let's talk about clout in this situation. So Misa truly believes that Rosie is using her for clout in this situation. To make it clear, on Twitter, Misa and Rosie have virtually the same number of followers. They have around 3,000 followers each. But we all know that Twitter doesn't mean anything. Any smart content creator knows that Twitter followers don't really mean much for the platforms that matter. They don't really carry over to places like Twitch and YouTube where you make your actual content. Those are the places that matter in terms of clout, right? So it begs the question, how do these two stack up? Well, since Misa brought this whole situation up about clout chasing, here's your Twitch account, 600 followers. Now, let me make this clear. I am not shaming her for having 600 followers. That is a big deal to a lot of people. I am always eternally grateful for my followings on social media. I don't take them for granted, okay? There was a time where having 600 followers on Twitch would have blown my mind. And that's a big deal to a lot of people. And it's not a small accomplishment. But you're saying Rosie is clout chasing you with 600 followers while Rosie has 9,500 and streams regularly to what seems like a pretty big audience, by the way. So who's clout chasing who in this situation? It's just embarrassing, honestly. And feel free to give Rosie a follow, by the way. That's someone we want to support here. But moving on, she would double down many times. So she said this for clarity's sake, I guess, saying, "I'll say it again. Some of y'all male VTubers ain't shit. You hide behind a demon daddy persona with a nice voice to exploit, lie, and cheat. The rest of y'all do yourself a favor and don't date/F a VTuber unless you know them extremely well. IRL even better." So this just seems like common sense and has nothing to do with like any of this. Like you didn't need to make that thread to know that you shouldn't date people unless you know them well. I mean, we're also talking about e-sex here, but like that's a whole nother thing. But going down here said, "Mama didn't raise no little bitch. I deleted the original post because I didn't want their identity coming out. My intention wasn't to start a gender war. It was to be silly and poke fun at a very accurate stereotype in this community." I'm not generalizing. I'm just poking fun at a very accurate stereotype. Are you serious? Do they know what a generalization is? Are they just confused or something? But nonetheless, this whole thing, like the whole framing of this is always funny. Like they're talking about these demon daddy personas with their male VTuber models. I pretty much am like the person who stumps someone like this. Like they can't call me a pick-me because I'm not a woman. They can't call me this weird demon daddy persona because that's not what I'm doing. And they also can't call me an incel because I'm engaged to a adult woman. So they kind of just left with nothing. And typically in these situations, if they do respond, it'll contain slander. 100% guarantee. But nonetheless, let's look at some of their other greatest hits from the recent weeks. They joined in on the initial wave of people attacking male VTubers a couple weeks ago, saying the people saying it's only a few bad apples are either super new to this community or straight up gaslighting. We are tired of having this conversation. Either be an ally to victims or move the F out of the way. Like, I'm so sorry, but clearly a lot more of y'all have not been around for the 0 days since a VTuber predator has been outed meme, or the twit longer after Google Doc on the timeline. It's a serious effing problem. If you don't want to see it, then shut the F up. Yeah, ignoring, of course, the endless amount of Twitlongers and Google Docs about female VTubers, but nobody's making that sweeping generalization. But they are. Here's another one saying, I don't know if this is bald phobic or not, but all of the bald VTubers are the same person in my head, where another person replied saying, it's okay to be a little bald phobic when I've seen some of their dog shit takes and content being like super effing weird. And Misa would reply saying, the Andrew Tates of VTubing for real. So of course, taking a masculine trait, being bald, and then making a sweeping generalization off of that. Like imagine if I did the same with a feminine trait and then made a sweeping generalization off of that. All these people would call me a misogynist. So this isn't any different. This is misandry. But here's the last thing I'm going to end on here. It's a little reminder to themselves. They said a PSA here in saying I don't associate with sexist is one of those. Yeah, hating on and making sweeping and inflammatory generalizations about a gender is sexist. I hope this helps. The fact that it's about men doesn't change anything, and you got very upset when people called you out for that double standard. But nonetheless, that is going to do it for this video. I appreciate you guys giving this a listen. Please share all of your thoughts about today's topic in the comments section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.